Based on what you know so far, Lieutenant, do you think this is something that is solvable, or?
We absolutely believe it's solvable. We, with the resources that we were provided by the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, all of the other groups, Arizona Department of Corrections that have helped us with this, as well as our own team of investigators. We've had about, at one point, I think, all 18 of our investigators have had something to do with this. We absolutely believe that we will find out exactly what happened to Sylar.
How long has Sylar been in the custody of the woman who was at the campsite? There's
some dispute about that. We have some accounts that she took custody of him at about 3 months of age. Other accounts that she took custody of him closer to a year of age.
Can you talk about the types of tips and phone calls you received through the Yavapai County Silent Witness, and have they aided in the investigation?
We have had some tips. A lot of the tips are the usual psychic tips. We've investigated several of those. We've also had some tips that the National Center helped us out with. I'd rather not go into those, but some tips about some direction as to internet activity.
Is this a priority case with your department?
Absolutely. It is our number one priority at this point. We do have a number of other cases, high-profile cases that are going on, but all of our resources at this point are being devoted to this. If they're not tied up on something else 100% of the time, they're being used on this. And out of those 18 investigators, I believe, at last count, about 9 are still working on this case.
So when was he last seen alive, that you're certain he was alive at the campground?
The last time that we have other campers talking about seeing him, there's some dispute about that. Last time anybody heard him was about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night.
That would have been Saturday night.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Sergeant, could you speak, when I talked to you last week, you talked about a lot of the searchers having children and going out there looking for him, seeing the faces of their kids. What's it like knowing that this has moved to a recovery operation?
It's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. I received an email from one of my incident command leaders who said, we fell in love with Sylar even though we never met him. And that's really how it goes. I have 4 kids of my own at home, and you go home and you just hug your kids for a while. When you go out there and you look at these flyers, you see your own children. Nobody wanted to stop, and that's why we're continuing. This is day 9, and we're continuing to search. We're in what's called a limited continuous search. It will go on as long as we get clues and we have new areas to search. We just scaled back on Saturday, and when it was actually time to break down the mobile command and the base camp, nobody wanted to leave. In fact, we had people coming out from our search and rescue organization just hiking new areas we hadn't got to yet. So it's devastating for us.
Are the searchers volunteers or paid staff?
They're mainly volunteers. We do have some paid staff, but our search and rescue personnel, they have to go through academies. There's background checks. These are people that are trained in specialties such as scuba, technical rescue, hanging from helicopters, rappelling, all sorts of different things, going down into mines. So they train for these specialties every month. And like I said, we had 380 as of Saturday, but we had agencies that assisted and brought us resources: Coconino County Sheriff's Office, Pima County Sheriff's Office, the Arizona Department of Corrections. These agencies, you call them and everybody comes. Just like if they need us, we respond to their locations. So we look for the resource that we need, such as a side skiff sonar for the water, and I go to Pima County to receive that. Coconino County brings me a lot of horses, so we have mounted and ground searchers and whatnot, so our resources don't start to dwindle and we don't start to burn people out. These volunteers worked every single day last week, and the average shift was 10.8 hours a shift. We had 10 cases of heat exhaustion for our own people that we had to rescue, and they still didn't want to stop. We brought them back to base, we got them some treatment, they picked up an assignment, and off they went. And it was like that 24/7 all week long.
Lieutenant, I may be connecting wrong dots here, but we think Sylar was taken from the camp, and now we think he is no longer alive. Is that basically right?
That's accurate, yes.
Okay. So, okay.
So
So
you,
not necessarily, okay, so he was alive, we think he was alive when he left the campsite?
We're not sure about that. And I don't want to speculate on that at this point.
but you don't think that he could have been taken and is still alive somewhere in the country?
That's a possibility. We are, and we continue to track those, any leads that come in of that sort, we continue to track those down. But we haven't had any credible leads to that extent, and we are focusing our investigation closer to the campground.
Did you see him on any of those videos that you collected?
We have not. We have not seen him on any of those, no.
Any idea how long that area will be closed down there? Hard to tell.
It's not closed right now. We opened it back up, and so it's open to the public to camp and whatnot. There's flyers if people do go into the area to where they can see Sylar. So as many eyes and as many bodies we can get in the area is fine with us. We do have search teams that go back, and we put them in specialized areas. So those areas themselves would be closed. But the Forest Road 618 from I-17 to 260 and the Beaver Creek Campground, I believe the Forest Service opened it back up today.
So you're confident there's no more evidence down there?
There could be evidence down there, but when we expand our search area and we get a clue, that's when we go back into a new area we haven't been. But we have to remember and think like a 2-year-old. If he walked away like we were told or reported to us, he's not going to go more than 2.8 miles. You know, the radius statistically is 0.06 miles to 1.65 miles, and that's what we've grid searched. But we have searched all the way from I-17 to Highway 260. So, but in some of those segments of 97% successful with the probability of detection doesn't mean that somebody's not going to find a clue and we're not going to go follow up on it. The search will not end until we find Sylar.
Have the latrines been checked at the campground?
Absolutely. Every dumpster, and we had special assignments for some of my guys, every dumpster was overturned and sifted through, and the actual wells, I don't know what they're even called, but the buildings with the restrooms with the open pit wells, in there as well, sifting through, making sure, pulling up bags of trash that are in there and opening them up. Everything has been done.
Lieutenant, can I ask one more thing? Is it that there are no credible leads that he is alive that makes you think he is dead, or something else that you can't tell us at this point?
Let me answer that part with one of the questions that was just asked of Sergeant Noonan. Somebody asked him about evidence that was found down there. The searchers that were under the direction of Sergeant Noonan were finding casino cards, they were finding drug paraphernalia, they were finding things, very tiny things. And part of what went into our assessment as to where we needed to focus our investigation was that these people in a half-mile radius from the place last seen were finding such minutia as drug paraphernalia, casino cards, ID cards, things of that nature, things that are much smaller than Sylar is. And so since they were finding things of that size and they weren't finding any sign of Sylar, that led us into the direction that we're going into now, and that's part of what we're looking at. We're looking at all of the circumstances. We look at the statistical odds of this being what it was reported to be, and we look at the statistical odds for victimology in 2-year-olds.
Were the family members and the other campers with him, were they drug checked and alcohol tested as part of the investigation?
We did, as part of the search warrant, we did ask for a physical characteristics warrant on some of the people that were camping with him. We do not have those results yet.
The family members, have they ever been in custody, or have they been asked to stay near the area for any investigation reason?
We have never had any of the family members in custody. We did ask them to come down here for some interviews. We did put them up in a hotel overnight, but they were free to come and go as they pleased.
And have they been cooperative?
They have been cooperative. And we